Helen Hill, thank you very, very much for joining me today. I would like to know a lot more about you and your business, because certainly you are a well-known entrepreneurial woman in the rural and the regional space. You're working in the agribusiness environment for the Wire Project, that's very much focused on women in rural, regional, remote areas, but also specifically when we can get role models in the agribusiness space, we're also very, very grateful for that. So thank you for joining me today. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions which will enlighten us and will give us a bit of, tell us a little bit more about your journey, and also give us some guidelines, that things that we can learn from you as an entrepreneur. Before I get to the business side, would you mind just telling me a little bit about you and your own background?
Oh, well, I was born in Canberra. I studied fine arts at university. I have travelled very broadly, lived in 5 continents.
Wonderful.
Chopped and changed, and I have been an exhibiting visual artist. I also am I have to explain everything, but and then more recently we got into this venture growing this unknown fruit, and that's what I've been doing. Well, I've been involved in it with my husband for the last 15 years, but it's only the last 5 years that I've been actually involved in the growing, and on a very, very steep learning curve.
I can just imagine. So tell me a little bit about this business. And there's a whole range of, I'll come back to you as an entrepreneurial woman throughout this interview, but maybe just to give us a bit of a picture of what is your business about, and tell us a little bit more about it and the product, etc.
Well, having lived in South America for 5 years, when we returned to Australia, we found ourselves involved in Latin American associated things. I went back to do a master's on South American art, and my husband was on the South American Business Council. So we met a lot of South Americans, and one particular guy harped on for about 3 years about wanting to grow this particular fruit. And we didn't know anything about growing fruit, so we sent him packing to look for somebody who could tell him if it would be worthwhile. And then we thought we'd fobbed him off. So we, Bruce said, look, go out to Flemington Market, see if you can find somebody who can tell you if there's potential in growing this fruit. And we thought that was the end of it. He came back and said, I found somebody and he's prepared to put some money in to try and get it going. And so that's how it all started. He said, look, there are 3 things that you need to know about a fruit for it to be successful. It's got to look good, it's got to taste good, and it's got to have a long shelf life. And he felt that this particular fruit had that. Well, it's not quite as simple as that, because nobody else had grown it commercially, you see. So we just, every day we learn something new.
So how do you pronounce it?
Well, in Bolivia, it was called achacharu. And we thought that was a bit of a mouthful. Yeah. So we just chopped off the last 3 words and we left with achacha. So it's cha-cha with an A in front. So you say achacha.
I had a look at the website and I thought, no, I better ask how you pronounce that.
Well, that's the easy way to remember it, yes.
So you said around about 5 years ago, your business kind of started taking off.
No, it started taking off about 15 years ago. That's when we had somebody else as a grower who came in and cleared the land, regraded it, set up a nursery, planted the seeds that we finally got permission from the Bolivian government to bring in the seeds. And finally planted them out with a sprinkler on each one, so it's irrigated. And we've been through a whole lot of learning things, because we were told they needed to be grown under something.
Yeah.
But the grower said, look, like people, they can adapt to a new environment, and that's what's happened. But a lot of learning going on at each little step.
Absolutely.
So we've planted out about nearly 17,000 trees. We're down to about 16,000 now. We lost 500 in Cyclone Yassi.
Oh my goodness.
And another area that kept getting flooded. So the trees were underwater for several weeks. And so we took another few hundred out from that area as well.
So where exactly is this property that you're talking about?
We're 40 kilometres south of Townsville. We're right on the edge of the Burdekin.
Yes.
So we get our water from the Burdekin Dam, which is about the only dam that doesn't go dry ever, and right on the edge of the Burdekin. So we're halfway between Ayr, which is the capital of the Burdekin, and Townsville.
Okay. And can you maybe just talk about, you talk about the 15 years ago and then the 5 years ago. Can you maybe just talk a little bit more about the development of your business and how it has developed maybe over the last number of years?
Yes. Well, as I said, we had a conventional grower who is now left. He's gone off to do something else. And we had to wait 7 years before we even knew if we'd have flowers or fruit. So that was a very long wait.
Yeah.
As to get established, we brought in quite a lot of our friends. It was before the global financial crisis, when people had some money to do something fun with. And, we said, look, don't put any money in that you need for your children's education. Just put something in that you won't mind if you lose it, because we really didn't know. So we have another 20 odd people, mostly our friends, and the Bolivian guy's friends as well. He's sort of disappeared into back to South America on other ventures. Haven't seen him for quite a while, and so these people have been really supportive. Put their savings in, and hopefully eventually they will get some returns on that. But agriculture is not a sure bet at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at least now I'll go to my grave understanding the difficulty putting food on our plates, that a lot of people don't realise that.
Absolutely. You talk about you have other people that invested in the business. So what's the structure of your business? Are you in a partnership, or you?
Yes, we've got unit trusts, yes. We've got it in two different structures, yes. Okay. So there are people that we've known socially. The first person to invest was a tennis partner of my husband's, and his wife was the assistant state librarian. So she knew about research. So when he said he was going to put a little bit of money into Bruce's adventure, his venture at least, she came home the next day and she said, David, you've invested in a fruit that doesn't exist. She had looked on the web, in books, and she could find absolutely no reference to it. So everything that's been generated on the web has been generated since we started doing our marketing.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Now, just before we started this interview, you made a comment you don't really see yourself as an entrepreneur, and that is a kind of a question that I explore a little bit with other interviewees as well. And the issue of identity and how you see yourself within this entrepreneurial space as a woman.
But all through my life, I've found it difficult to call myself something. I found it very difficult to call myself an artist, even though I was exhibiting each year. It was very difficult to call myself an artist. Yeah. Then when I trained to be a Feldenkrais practitioner, it was difficult to call myself a Feldenkrais practitioner. I thought I had needed years of experience, Yeah. And it's the same with being a grower. and an entrepreneur. It's very difficult to take on these titles when you sort of grow into it organically, in a way.
Yeah, that's true. So, what does this, how would you then describe success for you in this particular domain?
I'm sorry.
What would you see as success in this entrepreneurial space?
Well, I guess when our business we've come a long way in our business, but
yeah.
we can see that we've still got a long way to go.
Yes.
And I guess there have been little successes all the way along. There have been some failures. There have been a lot of learning processes. And I can see so many things that we need to do, but without the financial resources, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So I guess if we had some financial resources and we could put those things into place, I could then see myself saying that's been successful.
Yeah.
Yes.
A
lot of people are in that position as well.
That's right. So what would be your favorite aspect be of being an entrepreneur?
Well, I think, as I say, I'm finding it very difficult to think like that. But
as a businesswoman, you're a businesswoman.
Having a passion and meeting other like-minded people, and having the confidence, I suppose, to develop those skills. Having the guts and the courage. I think a lot of women have got guts and courage saying, I don't do can't, I do can, and sticking to it.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And I think, in that way, it builds up your confidence a little bit more along the way.
And what would you say is the most difficult aspect for you as a businesswoman?
I'm not very good at the financial side. I have to leave that to other people.
Yeah.
And also,
nothing wrong with that.
I can't do everything that's required in the business by myself. So I have to cut off things and stick to the things that I can do best, the things that I can feel that I can learn, that the things that are my passions, and then forget the other things and leave that to somebody else. It's about division of labour, really. It's about having people that you trust to do the other sides of the business that where my strengths don't lie.
Well, and obviously focusing on your strengths as you move forward. You've been in business quite a number of years now, and that also requires a particular mindset. Now, tell me a little bit more about your mindset and how do you overcome all these challenges that you faced?
Sometimes with great difficulty, but I think both of the things that I was doing before come into play, funnily enough, into what I'm doing now, because Feldenkrais is about making small changes constantly.
Yeah.
So making small changes. So I think sticking to what we need to do, but not taking on big bites, taking on little changes, and just making sure that you continue with those little changes each year. And little changes add up to a big change in the end.
Look, your mindset is obviously also very can-do, like you mentioned before. So is that something that you live every day, that can-do attitude?
Well, I try. It doesn't always work, but I think trying to overcome the challenges and saying yes, there are other ways. So let's look at other ways. If it's not working that way, let's look at a different way. And you'll find people will bring other ways to you if you network and bring in good people into your life. I think that's what it's all about as well. building up the team. Yes, and using the resources that you have, the personal resources that you've got as well.
So how do you build up a really good team?
I think by being honest and generous.
Yeah.
I think generosity is a very big thing in this sort of business.
Yeah.
Yes, and especially with having to market something that's never been grown before in this country, that's a very big. That takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and oh gosh.
So it sounds to me like networking. So it sounds to me like networking and really reaching out to other people, engaging other people, collaborating with other people is an important part of your business.
Yes, I think it is. Yes, I think it's very important. And my passion has now become the soil, bringing life back into the soil, which is not easy in a tropical climate because the organic matter gets burnt up very quickly. But reaching out to people to get more knowledge about that and how to do it and how to go about it. And luckily I've found some very good consultants that have helped a lot in that area.
Now, if I were to kind of ask you maybe, what do you think would be maybe 2 or 3 very important skills that you have used in building your business? What would that be?
Having a go is one thing. Gosh, sticking with it, not giving up, and showing your passion to people, because that's contagious. If you show that you're passionate to people, people come in with offers of help and all sorts of things. How many is that?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I think that passion is definitely coming through as you talk about everything as well. So is there maybe a business, another businesswoman or another business that you particularly admire in your particular industry? Or maybe in general?
Well, because we're using biodynamic methods, I've met a lot of women that have been involved in that, that I knew and like. I've met Patrice Newell, and she's a real interesting person. And the Mangali people, Mangali Creek are biodynamic, and they are very inspirational.
Okay.
One of the consultants, Cheryl Kemp, she learnt by going to New Zealand to do 4 years of biodynamics, and she's fantastic too. And I really admire all these people.
Yeah.
Yes. So
do you network with these people very often?
Yes. No, some of them I don't very often, but others I do. Yes,
and obviously
several of them I do,
and obviously draw on their knowledge as well in the process.
I have several people, other men too, that I can call, who are very generous with their knowledge, and they say anytime calls, and that's very reassuring.
So I guess that brings us to the aspect of mentorship, and mentorship can be formal or informal, etc. Have you had important mentors in your journey as you've gone through your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes, quite a few. They come and go.
Yeah.
They come and go at different times, and yes, I have. But a lot of it too is reading and looking at videos, and I have several neighbours that are growing things, and they're on the same page. They're not doing this the same way.
Yes.
But it's always good to be able to talk to people that are close by as well. You're not alone. And recently we've started this slow food convivium in Townsville, and some of the people there have been really, really helpful. And I can see that part of that So food thing is called Terra Madre, and that is linking small growers from all over the world to bring them into Turin every 2 years. They bring them in and involve them in all sorts of talks and give them confidence and let them know that what they're doing is really important. They go back to their little community feeling like they're not alone, that they are part of a big global network. And that's what I feel now too, that I'm part of a global network of women and of growers. And I think that's really important.
Oh, absolutely. In terms of, I'm interested to know more more about your vision. You started quite a while ago, and you must have had a particular vision, or did you have a vision for yourself at that stage? And has that changed, over time?
I don't think I had a vision, because I didn't even imagine doing what I'm doing now 5 years ago.
Yes.
It all happened organically. We just really needed to get up there and do it, and be on the ground and see what was happening and see how we could change things and how we could make it more financially sustainable. Because, people have different ways of doing things, and you can either spend lots of money trying to kill things, or you can spend less money trying to bring life into things. And I think that's what we're doing now.
You're obviously doing a very good job of that. There's no doubt about that. So, what kind of lessons have you learned, from over the last number of years?
I've learned that I was trying too hard. I was trying to do everything. I couldn't do that. I had to give up things and do just the most important things that day, and that week and that month. And I have learned that by learning more, I can do less. So hopefully that's going to work. As I say, we've still got a huge way to go, but I can see the way now. It was all very cloudy in the beginning and very daunting, very frustrating, very overwhelming. It all seemed so big and so much, and now breaking it down into small pieces makes it more manageable.
Do you believe there's a particular recipe for entrepreneurial success? If you were to, advise other women who want to start a business or want to progress their business, do you think there's a recipe or that they can follow?
Look, because I'm in this horticultural business, and I'm in the rural area, fairly remote from everything else. I don't think I have a recipe for other people. I've got a recipe for me.
So what would be the recipe be for you? I think we want to learn from you.
Well, as I said before, it's doing things in small bites, not taking off more than you can chew, and not being too rushed about it all. Doing things slowly and within your means, and finding new ways that and trying new things, really. It's very difficult for me to hand that, to give advice to other people. I'm still learning myself. But
that's right.
People say, "Oh, you lead such an exciting life, Helen." Yes, I suppose I am, but it's a whole lot of bloody hard work as well,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, something that's very, very critical in your business is credibility. How do you create, or that credibility in the market?
I don't know if I'm credible. I hope we're credible. I think being honest and leading by example, and and sticking to your guns and sticking to what you think is really important. I think by doing that and showing people that it can be done, I think that's the only way. I think doing what you think is correct and honest and your passion and sticking by that, I think that's the only way.
And I guess closely aligned to this question on credibility is how do you promote your business and your product? What strategies do you use, and what do you use for promoting it, marketing it, and so forth?
Well, because we were so short on cash, so social media has become quite a big thing.
Yes.
And also we've been very lucky with food bloggers. We've been very lucky with journalists that have come visiting us. We just had something in the press last week, and the television channel came yesterday. I don't think that's been shown yet, but it will. Yes. And it's involved with other things. Yes. It's not just our plantation. It's involved with a bigger thing, and I can't really say what it is, but eventually it'll come out. But I think being honest and friendly and open and inclusive, and being very inclusive. I think that all of those things help to build up credibility.
Do you mainly use Facebook, or what other types of tools also are you involved in? What's your favorite?
I had to settle on a couple.
Yes.
Occasionally I put something on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't really want to get involved in that whole Twitter thing.
Yes.
I do Facebook in little bites and little moments when I have the time.
Yes.
I don't go trolling through Facebook to see what people are doing. It's just too time consuming. Yes. And I've also got onto Instagram, which I think is quite good.
Yeah.
So Instagram is really good because we're linked with our agents.
Yes.
In Brisbane, Sydney, not so much Sydney, but Melbourne, and we now have about over 2,000 followers on our Facebook. Wow. And building it up in Instagram. And, you really don't know who sees the things on Facebook or Instagram. It goes much further than you think.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm finding, yes.
Now, you have got a unique fruit, so one would imagine that would be your competitive advantage. Is that the case, or is there other things that add to your competitive advantage, or, distinguishing you from your competitors, or don't you? How many competitors do you have? It's like,
no, we have competitors in stone fruit and other fruits, but as far as our fruit, we're the only grower in Australia.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So if people don't get it from us, but you see, we're 40 kilometres from Townsville. Yes. We've been going to that market. We have been putting it in fruit shops in Townsville for nearly 8 years, and there are still people there who have never heard of it. And when people find out about this fruit, they get very excited because they think, oh, they're the first person to find out about that fruit. And they get very excited. And, we go to growers' markets. Last weekend, we went to Carriage Works Market in Sydney, which is a marvellous covered market. And you get real foodies going there, people who care about what they eat, and they want to know. And so we spend 4 hours explaining things, and going to those markets keeps your feet on the ground.
Yes.
You understand what the consumers want and what's important to them and what they want to know. And we have to explain that you can use the skin from the fruit to make a very healthy drink. So if people are buying a kilo of the fruit, they eat the pulp, but they keep the skin, which is grown organically, so there's no baddies on it. Yep. Crunch it up, put it in water, and they can get 6 or so litres of a very a nutritious drink with carotene, hydroxycitrate, arginine. And so, we're talking about food waste don't waste the skin.
Yeah,
you
that's right.
Yes.
Have you got, in terms of moving forward, a vision moving forward in terms of growing your business?
Well, we would love to be able, we are playing, and we've developed a pulping machine so that we can now easily get the pulp off the seed. We found that solution. We're trying to find a machine or have somebody develop a machine so we can get the skin off the pulp.
Oh, okay.
That's
yes.
the difficult part.
Yes.
And we really need more financial support to be able to progress with that. And then if we get the skin, we can then maybe develop the drink.
Yes.
I've just heard about children using an obesity, drinking all these sugary drinks. There's a niche there for really good healthy drinks, and I see more and more coming on the market, and I think our drink could slot in there very, very well. And it's a palate cleanser. It goes very well. It's a great accompaniment for food. It goes very well with spicy food.
Okay.
And so I think that's one area we would really, really like to develop. Yes, and we've had gelato makers. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, with the frozen pulp, we have given that to gelato makers to trial. It's been very, very popular. Yeah. We don't have any dairies around. I have teamed up with them, and they have made a beautiful silky cha-cha goat milk gelato.
Yeah.
It's very good for people who are not tolerant of cow's milk.
Ah, okay.
So and we have trialed icy poles, which in South America is called paletas, yes. And they've been quite popular too. But all of that needs developing.
Yeah.
As I say, small steps.
That's
We've
right.
done the marketing. We know they'd be successful. Now we've got to find the means to do it.
Oh, absolutely. So I guess if you look back a bit and, I already asked you about some lessons and so forth, what would be the one thing that you think or your greatest lesson that you've learned over your journey?
Patience.
Patience.
Patience, really. Yes. Firstly, to find the way to have a relationship with the Bolivian government, and then patience, waiting 7 years till we actually knew if we would get fruit.
Yes, my goodness.
We got 700 fruit that first year, and we used that 700 fruit to find a way to describe the flavour of the fruit. And we asked a lot of people. We wrote down all the commentaries and descriptions, and we came up with sweet, tangy, refreshing,
yes,
and like a sorbet. So they're the words we still use. Patience to learn how to reduce the inputs, yes, to become more sustainable. Yes. Now patience to build up the soil health. So it's patience all the way.
Yeah, it's a long-term vision, obviously, into the future. Something that we as women often struggle with as well is to kind of balance our business side of things or our career things with our family side of things. And looking back, you would have had to do quite a bit of that also in your life. Yes. Have you got any maybe comments on that as to your views on that?
Well, I think I tried to do too much when my children I went back to do a master's when my children were quite young. And looking back, I think I would have enjoyed it if I had just given 3 years more till they went to school.
Okay.
And then studied. I think enjoying the moment of children grow so quickly.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't enjoy them. I think I would have been more patient if I hadn't had so much going on at the time, really. But given that, I've made so many good friends from parents of the children that the preschools and the schools that I was involved with.
Yeah.
That I still have today. So that was a marvelous time, and supporting women, you know, we would support each other.
Yeah.
So that we could have time out, and that was very, very important. Very important, yeah.
I've just got two more questions for you. The first one is, if you can think of maybe, is there one amazing thing that you still want to create to make a difference in the future? Because as an entrepreneurial woman, you must be making a difference, I guess, wherever you go in terms of touching people's lives and communicating, engaging with people, etc. So is there one particular thing that you still see yourself that you want to drive forward?
Oh, gosh, that's a big one.
It is a big one.
I haven't had any trouble networking with people, but I think, honestly, I don't know how to answer that question. I think I just have to be myself. I have to just do what I think is important and build up those relationships as I go. I think that's probably the most important thing. You know, you keep talking about vision. Vision, I suppose, has grown as I've become more involved in the business.
Yeah.
And finding the things that we want to develop.
Yeah.
And I guess that would be the vision, really.
Yeah. And just, I guess, before I get to my last question, in terms of my previous question, community, how do you see yourself linking in with your community and impacting on your community?
You know, moving into where we are now, it was not an easy thing. Firstly, we didn't have a lot of time, but we tried to become part of, you know, the field days and the local show. We tried to participate in that. I have put on little events at our plantation and invited local people.
Yeah.
We have participated in the water festival in the Burdekin.
Yeah.
We've participated in as many things as we can fit in, and we are now being invited to host things in the community. So the inaugural Burdekin forum, horticultural forum, was held on our plantation.
Oh, fantastic.
And that's really good because you don't have to go anywhere. Oh, everybody has to come to you. and that was terribly stimulating.
Yeah.
And now we get asked if groups can come to our plantation. So we put on presentations. It takes a whole morning. It's quite time consuming, but we have busloads of people coming in from things like garden clubs and bird clubs and University of the Third Age and that sort of thing. So we put on a presentation, we put on a video, we give them a cup of tea and some morning tea, and then they hop on the bus and they go out through the back of our plantation.
Yes.
And some people have been twice or three times.
Yeah.
Because they seem to enjoy it. Yes.
But I think also your sustainability message, you know, the organic aspect of your fruit as well, and you know what you're trying to do with the soil. I think those are very, very attractive commodities for people to want to go to your property as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last question is, where can we find you on the web or on Facebook, etc.? So if women want to connect with you or know more about your business, know more about your product, where would that?
We have a website which is achacha.com.au.
Can you just spell that for people?
It's www. Achacha. So cha-cha, the dance, with an A in front. So achacha.com.au.
Okay.
Facebook, you just have to Google Achacha Facebook and it'll pop up.
Okay.
And our Instagram is Achacha Oz. Capital A CHA capital AUS. Achacha Oz. And I think the Twitter is Ozachacha, but as I say, I'm not very active on that. I put a little thing saying that the Achacha harvest is about to start.
Yeah.
Just little things like that.
Yes.
We just don't have the time. And each year we put on an Achacha competition, so people can come in and win a box of fruit. This year, 4 people won a 2 kilo box of fruit.
Okay.
Just fun little things like that.
Yes. Any other thoughts or ideas that you may want to share with women out there?
Just stick at it. Have a go. Stick at it. Link with other people. Don't be afraid to ask for advice, and don't be afraid to fail at things. Really, I think failing at things can be a very good lesson. So not everything has to be perfect, but just stick at it.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for participating in this interview. I can't wait to have you live on our website or have this video go live on the website. You're a true inspiration, and I think women out there who's thinking entrepreneurial, who wants to have a go, there's so much we can learn from you. So thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Rita. Thank you very much for inviting me. It was very unexpected, I have to say. So thank you very much.
And I hope we can connect again as our program goes forward, and maybe draw some more on your expertise in small doses, because I know you're very, very busy women. Okay, thank you very much.
We were women at time poor.
That's right.
Yes, and men.
That's right.
Yeah.